Welcome to this DaVinci Resolve Fusion node breakdown. Today's node is the blur node. And let's jump into Fusion and bring in the blur. So I know I've used this node quite a bit on almost every tutorial and node breakdown I've done. So we might as well jump in and go over it. Now the blur node obviously blurs, so we know that. It's a pretty simple node. You do have effects mask input right here. So we can bring in a rectangle, input it, just change our size, cover our eyes there. And we can go to the blur node, and right here under blur size, we can change how much blur there is. And let's go ahead and invert that. So as we go up, the more blur we add. Now down here under your clipping modes, the default is set on frame, which means it's automatically going to set the node's domain of definition to the full frame of the image. So it's going to cover everything. If we set it just to domain, it kind of respects all upstream domain of definitions when applying the node. And then if we hit none, you can see it's going to have none. It's going to kind of clear out within our domain of definition. And down here we have the blend mode, basically blending the two together. Now the default blur type, or filter, as I say, is fast Gaussian, which pretty much applies a smooth, kind of symmetrical filter. And again, you can change the blur size right here. And let's soften up our box a little bit. There we go. Now you also have box blur. And this is pretty much just a faster version of the Gaussian blur, but it's pretty low quality. You can see as we change, look around her braids. When we go to box, it kind of does some weird stuff. So, I mean, it works, but it's different unless you want that look, that lined look. But it's not that great of a blur. For a nice soft blur. And you have Bartlett, and the Bartlett is a more subtle anti-Aliased blur filter. So you can see the difference between the box and the Bartlett. It's just a little smoother. And then we have multi-box, and this is probably honestly your smoothest blur on this node, because you can choose a number of passes. So the more passes you have, the smoother it's going to be. The less passes, the less smooth. It's going to turn out more like a box blur, you can see. But as we smooth it out, it smooths it out nicely. And you can kind of tell if we look down here and we even just go from fast Gaussian to multi-box, it doesn't change too much. But if we go to, say, box, you can see how this is just kind of blown out as opposed to the smoothness of the multi-box. And then we have Gaussian, which is your typical kind of symmetrical blur filter, and it's kind of just a constant blur across everything. And then back to our fast Gaussian, which is our default. So that is the blur node, and I will see you in the next node breakdown.